Dale, this is a interesting field of corn because it's slightly wider rows, but to me, boy, is it tall.
Yeah, that's one of the things what happens with the wider rows and a higher plant population. With the closeness of the plants in the row, you get a competition for height, so we're going to get a little taller response on the genetics because of crowding. And it's probably just a little too wide row for the population, but that's what we have to work with here with this farmer, and he's been a great cooperator, so we're thrilled to have him. This particular plot is what we call a non-limiting high-yield plot. We've put the nutrients on a protected nitrogen source that doesn't release its nitrogen until about 60-90 days. And even at that, in this growth environment, we're still seeing a nitrogen shortage, so who knows what the yields would be if we didn't have that nitrogen firing in the bottom. But nonetheless, it's a good stand of corn. We're getting excellent cob counts and populations, and cob sizing has been phenomenal. So we're looking forward to some pretty high yields out of this particular test strip here.
Well, the guys who really look for test strips and just go for yield and burn all the expense go with very high yields and closer rows, so they don't get a lot of light hitting the ground. But we're not seeing a lot of light hitting the ground here.
No, part of this variety is a very leafy variety, the 5259, so it does respond to its environment. So that's good to see. Not a lot of sunlight hitting the ground, so means we're intercepting a lot of the sun's rays for energy. The idea here is we are comparing against his normal program beside it here, albeit a slightly different variety, a little less population. So the idea is just to compare a non-limiting input to a normal practice, and then next year we'll start to peel out those individual inputs to see which one has attributed to yield. But this has just been an interesting exercise just to have more or less a non-limiting plot to see what we could do under some ideal growing conditions, and then we will start to work the agronomy into the equation over the couple of years from now.
How do you think this is going to yield?
My first instinct is we're over 200 bushels. How far over? I'll reserve that until we actually get all our spreadsheets in and get our calculations done. But certainly we have the plant stand and the cob size here to be over 200 bushels.
It's still late August, and these plants are got to be 10 feet tall.
Oh, absolutely. Their height's been attained. This is all they're going to get. So from here on out, what's happening now, we're well into dent stage. All the sugars are moving from the leaves and the stalk into this cob. This cob is the dominant sink. This is a big demand for the plant is to fill these kernels as much sugar as they can, and beautiful days like this keep the factory running, and so I expect some pretty decent test weights out of this corn as well.
Okay, now you've been driving around a lot, and of course you've been out today. What are you seeing generally in the crops?
In the crops, I think we're seeing, everyone's expecting the corn to be a bumper crop, and I think for the most part it is, although we are seeing some variability, but much less variability in the corn, which I think is a testament to the genetics and the ability to handle stress. On the soybean side, as I was suspecting, we got great-looking soybeans, but we got a lot more yield variability and a lot more variability in stand in the soybeans. So as much as the corns may be a bin buster, soybeans will be a good crop, but we'll have some fields that'll do well. But I think on average we'll have a good crop of soybeans.